I wake up in a Fulton County hospital bed with a surgical staple line across my abdomen and an $8,000 medical bill. The billing coordinator is standing at the foot of my bed, holding a clipboard and explaining my insurance deductible. I nod, pick up my phone and open my banking app to transfer the funds from the custodial account my grandfather left me. The screen buffers for 3 seconds. Then it loads. Available balance $0. I blink. I refresh the app. I close it and open it again. $0. I am 24 years old recovering from an emergency appendectomy, and the $115,000 safety net I have had since I was a child is gone. Before I can even process the empty screen, the door swings open. My younger sister Brittany struts into the room. She is not carrying flowers. She is not holding a get well card. Instead, she is casually twirling a heavy leather keychain around her index finger, a keychain bearing the distinct silver crest of a Range Rover. She stops at the foot of my bed, oblivious to the billing coordinator, oblivious to the IV line in my arm. "Dad bought me a graduation present," Brittany announces, her voice dripping with the casual arrogance she has carried her entire life. "It is a Velar, custom interior. He paid in cash. I do not scream. I do not cry. My mind simply clicks into a terrifying, singular clarity. I look at the 0 on my phone, and then I look at the silver crest spinning around my sister's finger. My parents had not just mismanaged my money. They had stolen my future to buy my sister a luxury SUV. My name is Diana, and this is the story of how my parents drained the one thing my grandfather left for me alone, and how one phone call to my grandmother ended their perfect life. If you are listening to this, drop your city and local time below. I read every comment. Now let me take you back to the moment the hospital room cleared out. The billing coordinator shifts uncomfortably and says she will give me some time to sort out my payment options. She leaves. Brittany stays pacing the small room, complaining about the hospital cafeteria coffee and how the dealership forgot to install the all-weather floor mats in her new car. "Are you listening to me, Diana?" Brittany asks, tapping her manicured nails against the plastic tray table. "I wanted the beige mats, not the black ones. Dad is calling the manager today to complain." I stare at her. She is 21. She just finished a communications degree, and she genuinely believes the universe exists to cater to her minor inconveniences. Growing up in Georgia, Brittany was always the pageant queen. She was the center of gravity in our house, the golden child, who required endless funding and constant applause. I was the quiet workhorse expected to orbit her and stay out of the way. Grandpa Charles saw this dynamic clearly. That is exactly why he placed that $115,000 solely in my name, locked in a uniform transfers to Miners Act account. It was my escape route, and Richard, our father, was the trustee. I asked Brittany when exactly Dad bought the car. "Tuesday," she says brightly, checking her reflection in the dark screen of the television. "We just walked in, and he wrote a cashier's check right there in the showroom." The salesman was in shock. "Tuesday, 2 days ago. The exact day my bank statement shows a single catastrophic withdrawal of $115,000. I tell Brittany I need to rest. She shrugs, says she has a nail appointment anyway, and walks out, the Range Rover keys jingling all the way down the corridor. The heavy door clicks shut. I am alone with the hum of the heart monitor and a deficit I cannot pay. I do not call my parents. I know the sound of their lies too well to bother asking for an explanation. I know Richard will use his deep, authoritative voice to tell me it was a family sacrifice. I know Susan, my mother, will tell me to stop being selfish. They rely on my silence. They are counting on the fact that the obedient daughter will simply swallow the betrayal to keep the peace. I reach for my phone again. My ribs ache with every shallow breath. I bypass my parents' numbers in my contacts. I scroll down until I find the only person in the Hughes family who understands the difference between loyalty and theft. I tap the name. The phone begins to ring 3 hours away in Savannah. I press my phone against my ear. The plastic casing feels cold against my feverish cheek. The hospital room is quiet now, just the rhythmic hiss of the oxygen line taped to the wall, and the distant squeak of rubber shoes on the linoleum outside my door. I look at the empty space at the foot of my bed where my sister was standing 10 minutes ago. The air still smells faintly of her expensive perfume, a sharp contrast to the rubbing alcohol and sterile sheets surrounding me. I listen to the dial tone ringing out across 300 miles of Georgia highway down to Savannah. I need to tell you about Evelyn Hughes. Most people see a 72-year-old woman in pastel cardigans who drinks iced tea on a wraparound porch. They see the pearls and the soft silver hair. They do not see the woman who took over my grandfather's commercial real estate portfolio after he died and tripled its value in a decade. My grandmother does not bake cookies. She negotiates commercial leases. She is polite, but she is ruthless. She reads balance sheets the way other people read the morning paper. The line clicks. Diana. Her voice comes through crisp and steady, lacking the usual exaggerated drawl people expect from the South. Your mother texted me about the surgery. A brief message. I assume you are calling to tell me you survived. I tell her I survived the emergency appendectomy. The surgical staples pull at my skin when I take a breath, but the physical pain is secondary right now. Then I tell her what I did not survive. I lay out the facts. I do not let my voice shake. I keep my tone flat, reciting the timeline like a police report. Tuesday morning. The banking app buffering. The screen showing a zero balance. The $115,000 withdrawal. Brittany walking into my room with the keys to a custom Range Rover Velar. Richard writing a cashier's check on the showroom floor while I was likely being prepped for surgery. For 5 seconds, the phone goes entirely dead. I pull the screen away from my face to check if the call dropped. It has not. The timer is still counting the seconds. I put it back to my ear. I can hear the faint rhythmic ticking of the antique grandfather clock in Evelyn's parlor. The silence on her end is not shock. It is not confusion. I have spent enough summers in Savannah watching her review bad contracts to know exactly what that silence means. It is the sound of a predator locking onto a scent. It is the sound of an empire builder realizing someone has breached her walls. Your father was the trustee, Evelyn finally says. Her voice is stripped of its usual warmth. It is reduced to cold steel. That was a Uniform Transfers to Minors Act account. He was the custodian. He was legally prohibited from touching the principal for anything other than your direct benefit. Buying a luxury vehicle for an adult sibling does not qualify as a direct benefit. I stare at the hospital's ceiling tiles. Richard has always viewed money as a prop. He runs a boutique marketing firm in Atlanta that looks successful on paper but bleeds cash in reality. He leases cars he cannot afford and buys golf club memberships to impress men who do not care about him. Grandpa Charles knew this. My grandfather was a quiet man who valued hard work over loud displays of wealth. He saw Richard treating our family finances like a casino. That is why the trust was locked away. Richard was supposed to be a guard dog. Instead, he decided to treat my future like a personal slush fund. Think about what $115,000 means. To Richard, it was a way to maintain an image. To Brittany, it was a toy to show off to her friends. To me, it was independence. It was the physical manifestation of my grandfather's belief in my potential. He built that fund, slowly depositing portions of his real estate dividends year after year. Every dollar in that account represented hours of his labor, specifically earmarked to ensure his quiet, hardworking granddaughter would never have to depend on anyone. Richard did not just steal cash. He stole my grandfather's legacy. He erased decades of careful planning in a single afternoon at a car dealership. I lie back against the stiff hospital pillows. The pain medication is wearing off, leaving a dull, throbbing heat in my lower abdomen. The physical discomfort mirrors the sick, hollow feeling in my chest. For 24 years, I played the role of the good daughter. I kept my head down, earned my degree, and never asked for handouts. I watched Brittany receive the lavish vacations, the designer clothes, and the endless parental attention. I accepted it because I knew I had my secret safety net. I knew my grandfather had seen the disparity and corrected it. Now the net is gone. I explain my immediate reality to my grandmother. I am trapped in a hospital bed with an $8,000 insurance gap. The billing coordinator is printing out a payment plan I cannot afford. I have $64 in my personal checking account because I was waiting for my 25th birthday next month to access the trust. I was planning to use that money to start my own physical therapy clinic. I had business plans drawn up. I had commercial spaces bookmarked in the city. Now I have nothing but a surgical wound and a debt. A normal grandmother would offer empty platitudes. A normal grandmother would tell me everything happens for a reason or say she will pray for my peace of mind. She might cry. Evelyn Hughes does none of those things. She does not gasp. She does not offer to call Richard and scold him like a misbehaving child. She recognizes this is not a family misunderstanding, this is a financial crime. Through the speaker, I hear the sharp rustle of heavy paper. I hear the distinct click of a fountain pen being uncapped. She is standing up from her mahogany desk. Rest, Diana Evelyn commands softly. The instruction is not a suggestion, it is a strategic directive. Do not answer any calls from your parents. Do not reply to any texts from your sister. Do not log into social media and look at her pictures. Let them think they got away with it. Let them enjoy the car. The phone line is silent again, but it is a comfortable silence. It is the quiet before a storm makes landfall. Evelyn is already moving pieces on a chessboard my parents do not even realize they are playing on. She tells me to close my eyes. She tells me to let the nurses do their jobs. I ask her what she is going to do. The hospital monitor beeps next to my bed, a steady rhythm against the quiet determination in my grandmother's voice. I am making one phone call, she replies, her tone carrying the heavy, undeniable weight of a judge passing sentence. It is time for you to meet my lawyer. The morning light filters through the hospital blinds, casting pale stripes across the foot of my bed. The breakfast tray sits untouched on the plastic table, cold oatmeal and a sealed cup of orange juice. I hear the heavy door handle turn. I expect the phlebotomist arriving for the morning blood draw, or the billing coordinator returning to press me for a payment plan I cannot afford. I do not expect the woman who steps into the room. She wears a sharply tailored navy suit. Her heels click against the linoleum floor with absolute authority. She carries a heavy leather briefcase. She looks like she belongs in a corporate boardroom, negotiating a merger, not standing in a surgical recovery ward. She stops at the side of my bed. She does not offer a warm smile. She does not carry flowers. Diana, she says. Her voice is deep and resonant, carrying the kind of professional weight that forces people to listen. I am Victoria. Your grandmother sent me. Victoria does not possess a bedside manner. She does not ask about my appendectomy. She does not inquire about my pain levels or look at the IV line taped to the